in like traditional conservative lifestyles, you have to share your bed. That's it. That's all. And wow, that freaks me out, guys. Doesn't it freak you out a little bit? Okay.
T'as pas lavé ça depuis 1000 ans.
Really?
Ça prend une seconde. Tiens, tu pourras laver ton petit sang.
Okay, thank you. Hello everybody, Ali here. Welcome to my channel, Olives and Orgasms, where I talk about some sex, food, travel, other lifestyle stuff. Today I want to talk to you guys about sleeping in separate bedrooms. I had a friend that came to visit me last summer. She came with her husband, and they reserved a room at the hotel online, and she reserved a room with 2 beds. And when she came, there weren't that many people, so I said, oh, you know what, like if you want, I could put you in one of the bigger rooms with like a big king-size bed. And she was like, no, we specifically reserved this room with the 2 double beds. And I said, oh, okay, is it because like you're both really tall? Because they were very tall, and I assumed that maybe sleeping in the same bed because they were tall wasn't comfortable. She said, no, we have separate bedrooms at home too. That's what we do. And I said, oh, that's really cool. Like I haven't met anyone who does that so normally, you know. She said they have separate bedrooms, and she's like, yep. She said research shows that, you know, couples who sleep better are happier together. And I think that's just not even for couples, that's just for people in general. If you have healthy sleeping habits, you generally live better, you're happier, you're healthier, and you get on with your day much better. So I thought that was really cool. And that's when she said that to me, that's when it kind of made me think, okay, like this is a thing. Like a lot of other people do this too. They do it because they want to and because it makes them feel good, and that's it. Because in the past, couples that I know who slept in separate bedrooms was mostly because there was something happening in their relationship where, you know, they were together because of the kids and they didn't want to sleep together anymore, so they slept in separate bedrooms and, you know, stayed living in the same house for the kids and stuff like that. It just was associated with something bad happening in the relationship. And I think, you know, that's why it's taboo, because, you know, people sleep in separate bedrooms because something is wrong. But things are changing and relationships are changing. You know, there are a lot of alternative styles out there. And I'm just here to share my experience with you guys. And I also want to know what you think, what your experiences are. Do you think that we should sleep together in a bed if you're in a relationship? Are you for separate bedrooms? Like, what's your style? Give me some feedback. I'm curious to know. Now that we are back in Canada, we are back in our home, and this house has 1, 2, 3, it has 4 bedrooms right now. We've turned it into 4 bedrooms so that we can rent it while we're away. The house isn't really finished yet, but we put as much love into it as possible before we left so that we could rent it. But anyways, it has 4 bedrooms, so it's got a lot of places to sleep. And during the summer, we were a lot of people sleeping here. We had our manager sleeping in the house with us. We had a friend in the house with us. People were coming to visit. But right now, it's just me and Gab. But we are still sleeping in separate bedrooms. And back home in Montreal, in the apartment we have there, there's 3 bedrooms, 1 with a king-size bed. And sometimes we sleep in separate bedrooms, and sometimes we sleep together in the king-size bed. Like, our sleeping pattern is kind of all over the place. And I want to talk about it because I don't know, that there's still some stigma lying around about, you know, sleeping in separate bedrooms and stuff like that. And I wanted to ask you guys about it and what you thought, because for me, it's totally normal. And I advocate so much for having a separate sleeping space, whatever works for you and your couple. When I was much younger, in my younger relationships, you know, it was very normal for me to, you know, I'm with my boyfriend, I live with my boyfriend, we sleep in the same room, that's what it is. Even if he snores or this and that, you just go through with it. You have to sleep in the same bedroom because that's just the way relationships work and that's the way life works. And I remember my second long-term relationship, we didn't sleep in the same bedroom a lot of the time because we did have very different sleeping patterns. So I like to go in my room, in bed, go to sleep, like lights out, earplugs in, eye mask on, quiet, silence. He loved to, pass out in front of the TV, basically watching something. And that's just, not my vibe. So I would often get up and go to the bedroom and he would stay up later than me and end up falling asleep on the couch. And for a long time, it bothered me so much that we couldn't find a vibe to sleep together because I thought that there was something wrong with us. It was like, oh my God, we're not a good couple. Like, how can we not sleep together? I love you. I mean, I think I love you. We're together. We live together. That's it. Like, why aren't we sleeping together? Obviously, there was, a lot of other underlying things happening there that I wasn't really aware of at the time, hence why we're not together. But yeah, I thought that was, a sure sign that something was really wrong with our relationship and I wanted us to sleep together in the same bed so badly. So, tried a lot of things, just like, making the room more shui, making it more comfortable, trying to develop similar sleeping habits, compromising by letting, him watch his stuff in the bed, which I really don't like, things like that. And, ultimately, like, sleeping in the same bedroom doesn't mean anything. There were a lot of other things that weren't working in our relationship. That was like the least of our problems. And then, I got to live single for a while and just got used to loving sleeping on my own. And I wasn't really a big cuddler either. So there was that. And yeah, I never really had sleepovers and stuff like that. When I was single, I would go home. I would ask the guy to go home. Didn't like that kind of stuff. If you see my other video about sleepovers, I explain it a little bit in there. But yes, then I met Gab. And he is an incredible cuddler, and I became a cuddler. And, I started sleeping overnight and stuff like that. And we started sharing a bed because I just really enjoyed sleeping with him a lot. But when I came out here to move to the hotel with him, I said that I needed absolutely like my own bedroom and my own space so I could have my time to myself when I wanted to. And sometimes I'd want to sleep alone and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Like, he didn't care, which I really appreciated. That was a sign for me that, like, okay, this guy kind of gets me. There's no like, oh, why don't you want to sleep with me? I miss you. We're together. We should share a same bed, blah, blah, blah. None of that stuff. So we kind of started our relationship off like that, and it was totally normal to me. We'd sleep together most nights. I'd say like 90% of the time we were sleeping together, and I loved it. I love sleeping with him. It's great. And our sex life is great, and sometimes I'd go off and sleep on my own, and usually what happens is in the morning, very early, whoever gets up for the first pee, which is usually me, I would get up, go pee, and then go join him in bed for, the early morning rest of the sleeping time before we have to wake up. And there'd obviously be sex involved because we usually have sex in the morning. So I really enjoyed that tradition. And then we started traveling a lot together. And, depending on where you are in hotels and this and that, like if you have to pick between no hotel and a hotel room with 2 separate beds, God forbid, like I'm going to pick the room with 2 separate beds, When you are on the road a lot, having a good night's sleep is super, super important. So as long as we could sleep well, whether it's in one bed or 2 separate beds, whatever. But we slowly started getting used to having our own space, mostly me. Gab's down for whatever. He doesn't care if I sleep with him every night or if I'm in another room. He's good either way. When we travel, sometimes we do get rooms with 2 separate beds specifically so that we can sleep separately and we end up joining each other in the morning. And when we were in Brazil, we had 2 separate bedrooms. And I think that was the longest amount of time. It was about 2.5 months that we slept separately from each other. there was only one night out of the 2.5 months that I remember going into bed with him and sleeping the whole night. But if not, we had our separate bedrooms, and then we would join each other in the morning. And it was just fucking great. Actually, funny story. So in Brazil, the reason why we slept in separate bedrooms too was just because it was so friggin' hot. And like, when you're hot, you're not necessarily looking to cuddle and get close. Like, you want space, especially Gab. Like, he's a big guy. He needs space and room to breathe. And so we didn't really cuddle as much, and we didn't really have sex as much because we were just like hot. And then when we came back to Canada, in our place in Montreal, it has 3 bedrooms, and one of them has a big king size bed. And when it's a king size bed, love sleeping in there with him, because you can sleep together and you can sleep separate, because when you're sleeping separate, it still feels like you're sleeping in separate beds. Do you agree? Do you not agree? I mean, I think so. And so, yeah, when we came back to Montreal, we cuddled so much in the king bed. It was great. And our sex drive was up because it was colder. So we wanted to like be together more and stuck together more. And we were hornier. And so that was the first time that I really noticed the difference between my sex drive between hot and cold climates. But that's a separate topic. Well, kind of, it sort of ties into this one too, with sleeping in the same bed, because when it's cold, you want to be together. But anyways, now we're in the house and there's 4 bedrooms and we are sleeping in separate bedrooms. And that being said, I just want to remind you guys that alternative sleeping habits is normal. It's good. It's healthy. And you shouldn't feel ashamed about it. And I mean, I never did anyways. I never really thought twice about it, except for when I was in my old relationship and I thought that it wasn't normal that we were sleeping together. But now I couldn't give 2 shits. I love our sleeping habits. Yeah, according to some research online, there are a lot more couples than you would think that sleep in separate bedrooms simply because of sleeping habits, and they sleep better and they're happier and they do it by choice and they love it. And I think that's pretty freaking cool. And I think we need to take the stigma out of like sleeping in separate bedrooms away and normalize it a little bit more. There was also a term that I came across that's maybe new, I'm not sure, called sleeping divorce. So there were some stories out there about, influencers and stuff sharing their stories about their sleep divorce, which means that, they've come to a moment in their relationship where they now sleep in separate bedrooms, and it's become like this kind of trendy thing. And it's a thing to talk about, sleep divorce. And that term kind of bothered me, because I was like, no wonder sleeping in separate bedrooms continues to have a bad rap, because you're calling it sleep divorce. And divorce to me just has like a negative connotation to it. So can we just say we just choose to sleep in separate bedrooms because we sleep better and we're happy and our sex life is great and yada, yada, yada? I don't know. And some people might wonder, does it decrease intimacy? I mean, I don't know. There are so many things that can contribute to decreasing intimacy aside from like not sharing a bed together. And I can speak from my own experience in that no, I don't believe it does. I think that our intimacy definitely fluctuates. Like I just said, in Brazil, it was so freaking hot that my sex drive just wasn't as high. As soon as we got back to Canada, it was like, whoop, back up again. And usually what happens, I mean, for me, like my sex drive is still there. If I'm in bed and I'm horny when I wake up in the morning, like I get up and I just go join him in bed, ain't nothing wrong with that. So I think it depends on a lot of factors and not just sleep that can decrease your level of intimacy. Sometimes you may wake up and really miss your partner, so you want to go and join them, and you might get a little spike of horniness or whatever and want to get it on, But if they're sleeping next to you 24/7, maybe you're going to be so sick of them that you won't want them to touch you in bed. There was an interview that I saw, it was a survey, someone was going around asking people do they think that couples should sleep together? And this one woman says, yes, absolutely. If you're in a relationship, you need to sleep together. You need to share your bed. You've committed to someone, so you have to share your bed, which I find that absolutely ridiculous. Like, you can make up your own rules. And then they asked why, and she said, so you can spend as much time together as possible. When I heard her say that, I had a physical reaction. My body cringed up because, imagine, like, that's too much time. Too much time. I mean, I love Gab and all, and we spend a lot of time together, let me tell you that. But we also make sure to spend a lot of time apart because I don't want to spend every single waking moment with him, and vice versa. He doesn't want to do that with me either. You need time to miss each other. And, having separate bedrooms can be fun because then you could, decorate your bedroom how you want. You can have things placed how you want. You can watch Netflix as long as you want in bed. That's one thing for me. I don't like to be in bed next to my person where we're both on our laptops, sitting side by side, like watching two different things and just not connected at all. For me, I feel closer and more connected to Gab if we are sleeping in separate bedrooms than if we are in the same bed next to each other, both on our computers, doing God knows what differently and not even talking to each other. I feel way more disconnected from him. There were also some stories of people needing to feel reassurance from their partner next to them. So they're in a relationship with someone, they're committed to them. They want to go to bed knowing that their partner is within an arm's reach of them, because if they're not, they feel anxious, they feel insecure. So, there's issues like that. There was also a comment from another woman who said, when you commit to someone, this was in the context of marriage anyways, when you commit to someone, you commit to everything and you commit to making it work in any way possible. And that included sharing your bed, because when you're married, you have to share a bed. That's just the way life works. Oh, again, that freaks me out. So you have to make it work. You have to compromise. You have to figure it out to share that bed together, whether it's sleep therapy, hypnotherapy, drinking a glass of wine before bed, like setting the mood. Like, she was giving all these suggestions for couples who are married who have to share the bed together, except for sleeping in separate rooms or separate beds. That was not one of the options, because in traditional conservative lifestyles, you have to share your bed. That's it. That's all. And wow, that freaks me out, guys. Doesn't it freak you out a little bit? So, it's just a preference. And I'm just here to tell you guys my story and how I feel about sleeping in separate bedrooms. And everyone has their own different preferences. So I want to know what you guys think, what your preferences are. And I'm just here to tell you, you do you, boo. And I'm very happy that I have met a partner who appreciates the sleeping in separate bedrooms. And I think that's also new for Gab, and that he's also really appreciative of having someone who's just as comfortable with that. And it's fun, because we chase each other inside each other's rooms. Sometimes I hang out in his room, sometimes he hangs out in mine, and we still cuddle and so on. And if you could find a good balance, that's all the better. And I hope this video is okay, because it is getting dark outside, so I don't know how the lighting is. And there is a snowstorm happening in this very moment. Anyways, that's the end of my sleeping in separate bedrooms rant. Thank you guys for listening. Again, I'm not an expert in anything. I'm just a sexpert in my own life, and I like talking about these things with you and sharing them from my perspective and hearing what you guys have to say. So thanks so much. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Thank you to my lovers and my haters. Love you all.